Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going way back in time
Yeah.
to 7th century Japan.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's the time of emperors and clans and samurai and swords, the time when really just one single act of violence
Ah.
could topple an entire empire.
Wow.
And that act is what we're talking about today, the Isshi incident.
This incident was a huge turning point. Like, it reshaped the whole power structure in Japan, and it all started with
What
this.
else?
It all comes down to this assassination attempt that went very, very wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're going to be looking at this through the Konshoki. It's an 8th century text that tells this whole dramatic story. So,
Yeah?
yeah, buckle up. This is a wild ride. It's got ambition and betrayal and this huge clash between like old traditions and radical new ideas.
Exactly. And to really understand all of that, we need to kind of start with the historical context.
Mhm.
So we're talking 7th century Japan, right? It was a time of massive change. Buddhism had just kind of come onto the scene, and it really challenged the Shinto beliefs, Shintoism being the native religion of Japan.
So it's not even just a new religion. It's like a whole new culture clash.
Exactly. And this clash really played out in the rivalry between these two super powerful clans, the Nakatomi, who are all about supporting Shintoism, and the Soga, who really embrace this new Buddhism. But it goes deeper than just faith, though. These clans were straight up fighting for power and influence within the imperial court.
Okay, so we got these two powerhouse clans,
Yeah.
each one backing a different religion,
Yeah.
and both of them like super eager for more power, more influence. What were some of the tactics they used to get ahead?
Well, the Soga, they were really good at this whole political game. They used strategic marriages like it was nobody's business, marrying their daughters into the imperial family. It was a pretty clever way to get close to the throne, like having your ear right next to the emperor,
Yeah,
basically.
that's sneaky, real sneaky.
Cool.
So they're playing the long game, getting all cozy within the imperial family. What else were they up to?
They also loved to flex their wealth and status. They built these extravagant tombs and gave themselves these fancy titles. It was all about looking powerful and influential.
It's like a modern-day PR campaign,
Right.
but with way higher stakes. So it sounds like the Soga clan was on the rise, but I have a feeling it couldn't last forever.
You got that right. Their ambition ended up leading to this pivotal event that shifted the entire balance of power, the assassination of Prince Yamashiro in 643.
Ooh, okay, so things are getting serious now. This assassination, was this the Soga clan behind it?
It was. They totally orchestrated it. And this act sent shockwaves through the entire court. It showed everyone just how far they were willing to go to get rid of rivals and hold on to their power.
That's cold.
Yeah.
This had to be the last straw for the Nakatomi. They couldn't just sit back and watch as the Soga clan just like took over everything, right?
Exactly. The assassination of Prince Yamashiro was a major turning point for the Nakatomi. They knew they had to do something drastic or risk losing everything.
And that brings us to the Isshi incident itself. This super daring act of rebellion against the Soga clan. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing, was it?
Oh, no, no, no. The Nakatomi planned everything very carefully. They chose a specific date, a ceremony where everyone would be gathered at court. They even planned on using this nervous speaker to distract Soga no Uraka. He was the Empress's advisor, and the guy they blamed for Prince Yamashiro's death.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
They were determined to make this plan work.
So they're setting the stage. They're going to disarm Uraka. It's all part of the plan. You can really imagine it, right? The ceremony's in full swing. The gates are locked. Armed guards are everywhere. Nakano, the Empress's son, is there. He's got a spear hidden near his seat.
Right, and, well, here comes a twist. At the critical moment, the guards who are supposed to disarm Uraka, they hesitated.
Wait, they froze. With so much at stake, why would they do that?
We don't know for sure. Maybe fear, maybe loyalty to Uraka, maybe even a last-minute change of heart. It's a mystery, but whatever the reason. Their hesitation threw the entire plan into chaos.
I bet. So what happened next? Did the Nakatomi just give up?
No. Nakanoar saw his plan falling apart, and he decided to take matters into his own hands. He jumped up, spear in hand, and struck Uraka down, right there in front of the Emperor.
Right in front of the Empress. That's insane.
It was total chaos. Uraka was mortally wounded, and he pleaded with the Empress to investigate, to find out who betrayed him. But the Empress, she was totally stunned by all this violence. She was speechless.
And this was all happening?
Yeah.
In the imperial court, right? This place would have been considered sacred. Wouldn't this violence be like a massive taboo?
Oh, absolutely. You see, there's this concept of pollution of the throne. It's this belief that violence or ritual impurity within the imperial court could disrupt like the cosmic order. and threaten the emperor's authority. So this act, it would have been deeply unsettling for everyone there.
Yeah, I can see how that would just send shockwaves through the entire court. What happened after this shocking incident? Did Nakatomi actually manage to overthrow the Soga?
It was a complete shakeup. The Empress, she couldn't handle it. She abdicated. Her brother took over as the new emperor. And the Soga clan, well, their power was completely shattered. They were totally dismantled.
Oh, what a turnaround from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
All because of one impulsive act. What happened to the main players, though? Did anyone face justice for Ureka's death?
Well, you know that whole pollution of the throne thing we talked about?
Yeah.
The Empress abdicating? That was partly seen as a way to, like, cleanse the court, to get rid of that taint of violence. As for the Soga clan, it was a complete and utter downfall. Soga no Emishi, he was Ureka's father and the head of the clan. He chose a pretty dramatic end. He set his own home on fire, rather than be captured.
Man, that's intense. Like something out of Shakespeare. But what about the Nakatomi clan? Did they get what they wanted? Did they take over in this new power vacuum?
They definitely came out on top. But their leader, Nakatomi no Kamatari, the guy who masterminded the whole thing, he knew that true power wasn't just about force. It was about influence, strategy, securing a legacy.
So he wasn't content with just taking down the Soga clan.
Yep.
He wanted to make sure the Nakatomi clan stayed in charge for good.
You got it. And he was brilliant about it. Years later, after the Empress's son became Emperor Tenji, he gave Kamatari this amazing reward, a brand new clan name.
A new name. Why would that be such a big deal?
Back then, a clan name wasn't just a label. It was about identity, prestige, lineage. And the name Emperor Tenji gave him, Fujiwara, that was the birth of the Fujiwara clan, a family that would become one of the most powerful in Japanese history.
So the Nakatomi clan became the Fujiwara clan.
Yes.
And they became even more powerful. Talk about a long-term plan paying off. It's incredible how one event, this Isshi incident, could change the entire power structure of a country.
It really shows you that history isn't always straightforward. It's full of twists and turns, unexpected consequences, individuals who seize the moment and shape the course of events. The Isshi incident is a perfect example of that. How a single act of violence can have ripples that last for centuries.
It reminds you that studying history isn't about memorizing dates. It's about understanding ambition, the struggle for power, the consequences of our choices.
Right. And the Isshi incident, it's not just a turning point in history. It raises some big questions, like what if those guards hadn't hesitated? Would things have turned out differently?
That's a good point. It makes you think about the role of chance. Individual choices.
Yeah.
Would the Soga clan have survived if those guards had followed through? Would Nakano have done what he did?
It's impossible to know for sure, but it shows how fragile power can be and how even the best plans can be derailed. It makes you think about all those moments in history where things could have gone in a totally different direction.
And speaking of different directions, let's go back to Empress Kyoku. She abdicated after the Isshi incident, right? But her story doesn't end there, does it?
No, it doesn't. Empress Kyoku's story is really about resilience, about how life can throw you curveballs. Years after the Isshi incident, she actually came back to the throne as Empress Seme.
She came back. That's incredible. What made her come back? And how was her second reign different from her first?
It was a combination of things. Political maneuvering and popular support. Remember, she stepped down to kind of cleanse the throne. But as time passed, people started to see her as a symbol of stability, a source of continuity.
So after all the chaos and uncertainty, people wanted a familiar face,
Yeah.
someone they could trust.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows how smart Empress Saimei was, that she was able to use that sentiment to get herself back in power.
But wouldn't her experience during the Isshi incident, seeing that assassination, the chaos that followed, wouldn't that have changed her? How did she handle power the second time around?
It definitely had to have some kind of impact on her. You know, historians still debate this, actually. Some say that Empress Saimei's second time ruling was all about stability. Like, she was focused on consolidating power, strengthening the imperial court, and promoting a more centralized way of governing.
So she was maybe a bit more cautious, trying to avoid more power struggles.
Right. She also oversaw some pretty big cultural and religious changes. Remember how the Soga clan were huge supporters of Buddhism? Well, with them gone,
Yeah.
you might think Shinto beliefs would make a comeback.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But here's the thing. Empress Saimei still supported Buddhism.
Really? So even though the Soga clan was out of the picture, Buddhism still thrived under her rule?
It did. She even had some really impressive Buddhist temples built. It seems like she saw something in Buddhism. Maybe she recognized its potential to unify the country. and create peace.
It's funny how history is rarely so straightforward. Here's this empress who's deeply affected by the actions of this pro-Buddhist clan. Yet she still chooses to support the same religion. It shows you how pragmatic she was.
Yeah.
She could look past those clan rivalries.
It does. It also highlights how religion and politics were so intertwined back then. Empress Saimei was a devout Buddhist, but she also understood how religion could be a tool for governing.
It makes you think about the lasting impact of the Isshi incident. It took down the Soga clan, paved the way for the rise of the Fujiwara, and ultimately led to some major changes in Japanese society. What are some of the key things we can take away from this whole story?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is the danger of unchecked ambition. The Soga clan was so obsessed with power that it ultimately destroyed them. It's a warning about greed and the importance of balance.
It's a lesson that's still relevant today. We see it everywhere, in politics, business, even our own lives.
Yeah.
That desire for more power, more recognition, can sometimes blind us to the consequences.
Absolutely. Another thing the Isshi incident shows us is the importance of understanding different perspectives. The Kanshoki gives us one side of the story, but we have to remember that it was written with a specific viewpoint, probably with its own biases.
So we can't just take everything we read as fact. We need to look deeper, consider different interpretations, and try to understand the motivations of all the players involved.
Exactly. It's about thinking critically and recognizing that history isn't always black and white. It's messy, complicated, and full of contradictions.
And that's what makes it so interesting, right? There's always more to learn, more to debate. It's a journey of discovery that never really ends.
I totally agree. The Isshi incident, with all its twists and turns and betrayals and triumphs, it's just one small piece of the bigger puzzle of human history. But it's a piece that teaches us a lot about power, about human nature, and about the power of resilience.
Well said. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the Isshi incident. Hope you enjoyed our trip back in time. We covered a lot today, from the rise and fall of these powerful clans to the religious and cultural changes that shaped 7th century Japan.
It's been great exploring this fascinating period with you. It's amazing how these events from so long ago can still be relevant today, offering lessons and insights into what it means to be human.
All right. And who knows, maybe we'll find even more hidden treasures and unexpected connections in our next deep dive. Until then, keep those brains buzzing and remember, history is never truly in the past. It lives on in the stories we tell, the lessons we learn, and the choices we make every day. Thanks for listening, everybody.